The Ole Miss Rebels travel to Starkville, Mississippi to play the Mississippi State Bulldogs. This game's 12 o'clock Eastern time on ABC. Ole Miss is around a touchdown favorite. It is the 122nd iteration of the Battle for the Golden Egg, or better known as the Egg Bowl. Davis Wade Stadium is the site, and Ole Miss enters this contest with a 10-1 record and a real path to the college football playoff, win and in. Something they couldn't do last year with probably a slightly superior roster. On the other side, it's Mississippi State, second-year head coach Jeff Lebby, who, by the way, has done a great job, I think, at Mississippi State. Getting them to 5-6 this year was a significant jump from where they were, but man, bowl eligibility is big. And what was a year where you want to show growth, 15 extra practices that accompany a bowl berth could be big for a program that leans heavily on development. Losing 5-7 finish would lead to a long and bitter off season. However, the on-field breakdown has been overshadowed by a massive off-the-field variable, and that's the future of Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin. And there's a lot of reports that are linking him to vacancies at several jobs, whether it's LSU, Florida, you name it. The psychological fortitude for the Rebels will become a primary variable in how this game could be determined. So it leads us to question one. Will Lane Kiffin's job status prove to be a distraction? This is without question the biggest key. And it might as well be. And the players have addressed it. The staff has addressed it. And the fact that people are wondering about where Lane Kiffin's going to be heading, or if he's heading anywhere at all, it's reached fever pitch to the point where the AD has to make a statement talking about a meeting that will go down on Saturday, an announcement that will go down on Saturday. And while Keith Carter is he's the AD, he's publicly stated that it's all about the Egg Bowl right now. It's hard to ignore what's going on and the impact it could have on the Ole Miss roster. I mean, players are hyper aware of the news cycle, so the narrative around the head coach possibly leaving could lead to some volatility with their emotions. But I think it can go one of two ways. It could lead to apathy, which the team is feeling abandoned, or maybe their focus drifts a little bit, and it leads to some mistakes or lapses in focus. That's one way it could go. The other way it could go is the quote, last dance motivation, right? Kind of like the Bulls in the 90s, where they rally around. It serves as kind of a galvanizing factor around Lane Kiffin for one final run towards the college football playoff berth and possibly a national championship. So I don't know which way it's going to go, but that's definitely one of the biggest questions of the game is how does it impact the Rebels, and does it impact them at all? Question two, can Mississippi State stop the run? Because Ole Miss is powered by one of the best running backs in the sport, Kewan Lacey, and he's been amazing. A historically good season for the Rebels, over 1,100 yards. He's got 19 rushing touchdowns. He's already broken the single-season record that was held by Quinshon Judkins, and he enters into the Egg Bowl coming off a career-best performance just a couple weeks ago where he goes for nearly 225 and 3 touchdowns against Florida. So he's peaking at the right time. And on the other side, it's Mississippi State. Their defense, things have gone down pretty significantly the last few weeks, especially against the run. Against Mississippi State, or for Mississippi State all year, they're giving up almost 200 yards a game on the ground. It's in the hundreds. It's not good. And opponents have found the end zone 16 times against the Bulldogs, and they're giving up chunk yardage. One thing that's particularly notable is what happens to them in the third quarter. Because if you look at the first half, they're giving up less than 4 yards per carry, or less than 4.5 yards per carry, about 4.3, thereabouts. In the third quarter, things balloon to where they're giving up over 6 per carry. That's 134th. So it's the third quarter where things start to go sideways. So is this because of fatigue? Potentially. It's because of a lack of depth, potentially. It's adjustments, potentially. Sure. All those things factor in, and gap integrity becomes less than stellar. And this is an Ole Miss team that uses a lot of tempo. And maybe that tempo does lead to early fatigue for the Bulldogs, which could become very problematic if they can't stop the run. Question three, how will Ole Miss account for Brennan Thompson? Now, the Bulldogs, their passing game rests heavily on the shoulders of Brennan Thompson, who's been one of the best receivers in the sport so far this year, over 850 yards through the air, 7 touchdowns. And if the Bulldogs are going to continue to kind of keep up in a game that could become a bit of a shootout, Thompson has to get the ball off. Short routes, intermediate routes, deep balls. He's got great speed. He is a tremendous vertical asset. So that's one element that the Mississippi State offense is going to have to continue to find ways to get him the ball in blank shape, and their quarterback's going to be looking his way early and often, going against an Ole Miss secondary that hasn't been bad this year, even though they had to replace a lot of production. They're in the top 25 in passing yards a game given up. Question number 3. Will Mississippi State be able to hold up in protection? Now, Mississippi State's greatest vulnerability is probably the offensive line, as evidenced by them giving up 37 sacks. That's among the top 10 in the country, as far as not a list that you want to be highly ranked on, by the way. And there's a bit of a situation surrounding the health of their tackle, Albert Reese, who is probably their best offensive lineman. He missed the Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M game earlier in the year. He did come back against Missouri, played nearly 100 snaps, so hopefully he'll be good to go. And Ole Miss is not what they were a year ago when it comes to their defensive line, but they still have guys up front that can hurt you if the offensive line protection is not sound. Question 5, will Trinidad Chambliss deliver in a high-pressure environment? Because that's what kind of happened last year. It wasn't good. If you look at Jackson Dart, he did not play well against the Florida Gators. It was very disappointing against the Florida Gators, and that's why they were ultimately left out of the college football playoff. Well, now Trinidad Chambliss, he has played with tremendous efficiency this year, tremendous ball security. His season totals are great, from an interception to touchdown ratio. The passer rating's been great, and the mobility is also fantastic as well. And the last time he played in a winner-go-home game was against Valdosta State last year in the Division II National Championship game. And he accounted for 5 touchdowns that day. And they won the national championship 49-14. So he has risen to the occasion before, albeit at the D2 level. Can he do it now against a foe that would love nothing more than to knock off their playoff-bound rivals? I'm taking Ole Miss in the game. If you want to beat the Rebs, you got to stop the run. I'm not confident that Mississippi State can do it, not with what I've seen from them defensively the last couple weeks. I think Ole Miss will win this game as long as they're focused. If they're not, and that focus starts to drift, that's how it becomes competitive. I don't think it will. I think the Rebels handle business and punch their ticket to the college football playoff.